Hi there, I'm Deanna from Principal. Wherever you're joining me from, I'm glad you're here. If you're like a lot of people, you had a trusted person in your life who helped you understand aspects of personal finance. Now you may be in a position to pass on your knowledge to a child in your life. Even though talking to kids about finances can seem awkward, almost 70% of college students cite their parents as their most influential resource on finance. You may be wondering, when is the right time to start talking to kids about finances, and where do I even begin? First, there's no better time than now to start these conversations. And second, we're here to show you what you can talk about during every life stage. We'll start by watching this short video, then we'll come back together after to answer some top questions about teaching kids money basics. If you have questions of your own, you can submit it anytime using the Q&A feature. Let's get started.
Developing good money habits as a child can have benefits later on in life, even through retirement, and loved ones play an important role in helping children develop those good habits. Take a moment to think back on valuable financial lessons you've learned over the course of your life. Things like why it's important to save, how to distinguish between needs and wants, or the difference between good and bad debt. Now think about who taught you these financial lessons. Did you learn the importance of saving from a parent? How to benefit from your employer's 401k match from a trusted coworker? Or maybe you learned a priceless lesson in giving back from an admired teacher. If you're like a lot of people, you had a trusted person in your life who showed you the ropes of personal finance. Now you may be in a position to pass on your knowledge to a child in your life, and we're here to help. In the next few minutes, we'll cover topics like the importance of saving, how allowances help teach money management, why it may be a good idea to get your child involved in household budgeting, and more. It all starts with the first step, having open, honest conversations. You may be wondering, when is the right time to start talking with children about money? The answer will probably surprise you. Research shows that some of children's financial habits are set by age 7. But don't worry, even if the kids in your life are older, you can still be a positive influence on their financial habits. In fact, almost 70% of college students cite their parents as their most influential resource on finances. Talking about money with a child may seem awkward at first, but having conversations about how money is used and how it works gives kids an honest and realistic view of finances. One way to start the conversation is to talk about how you balance and track your own personal expenses, either on paper or online. Point out where you choose to make sacrifices and share your goals so your child can see what it takes to achieve them. You can even take the conversation one step further, depending on the age of your child, and talk about daily or monthly expenses. For example, the cost of rent or your mortgage, electric and water bills, car payments, and even groceries. Another way to talk about expenses is to show how you may sacrifice in one area of your life to put money toward another area. Perhaps you're paying off loans, so you choose to drive an older car, or you're saving extra for retirement, so you've decided to live in a modest home. Each of these decisions demonstrates financial responsibility. Another important topic to talk about with your child is how to use credit and debit cards in a responsible way. One reason that many people use credit cards is to build credit history. Talk to your child about how their credit history is important because landlords use it to approve rental applications. Employers review it for job applications, and lenders use it to decide if you're able to borrow money for large purchases like a car or a home. You can start the credit card conversation by introducing the 30% credit utilization rule. That's the amount of credit you're using compared to the amount that's available to you. For example, if your credit card has a limit of $1,000, you would ideally have a balance of no more than $300. Remind your child that it's best to try to pay the balance in full each month to avoid paying interest. However, it's good to remember that having a credit card is not the only way to build good credit history. It can also be built by setting up utilities in your name and paying rent on time. When talking about money with children in your life, it's important to think about your tone, the way you talk about money, and how you use it. Involve them in financial discussions in a positive way. For example, if you want to talk about delayed gratification, frame the conversation like this. If we eat at home instead of going out for a few weeks, we can put that money toward a family vacation. That brings us to our next conversation topic, wants versus needs. Like adults, children have a lot of wants that aren't necessarily needs. Every time you go to the mall or the grocery store, you likely get requests for things large, like a phone or a laptop, or small, like a new toy or candy. When requests pop up, consider it an opportunity to teach financial responsibility by discussing if your child has a want or a need. Then, based on your child's age, discuss ways they might earn money to purchase the item. This teaches the value of money, the importance of saving, and the satisfaction of earning. Speaking of sharing values, we've all heard the phrase, money doesn't grow on trees. But the real takeaway is that money must be earned, whether that means doing chores around the house, getting a part-time job, or maybe even starting a small business, like a lemonade stand, mowing yards, or walking dogs. Start by talking to your child about how you earn money by explaining what you do for a living. Then talk about how your earnings help pay for essential needs, like food, clothing, and shelter. You can also talk about secondary priorities, like toys, vacations, and electronics, and how they can be purchased when the essentials are paid for and you saved enough. Want a hands-on idea? Instead of telling a child that something costs $5, have them take $5 out of their piggy bank, go to the store, choose an item, and have them hand the money to the cashier themselves. Not only will they be proud of their purchase, they'll realize they exchanged money for the item in a very real way. This makes a far greater impact than a 5-minute lecture. While conversations about money should continue as your child gets older, there are also many ways to teach personal finance by doing hands-on activities, even with small children. Start with a simple piggy bank to teach the importance of saving. Using a clear piggy bank is even better because your child can see the money accumulating. Introducing a piggy bank is a great time for a child to learn the value of different coins too. They can also use the coins to practice counting by ones, fives, and tens, or doing simple addition and subtraction. Another positive step you could take with your child is opening a savings account in their name. This may require a co-signer depending on your child's age. Going to a bank, opening an account, and interacting with the teller is a great lesson in independence. Some banks and credit unions may offer children's savings accounts that have no minimum balance requirements, great interest rates, and few fees. They also have tools for parents to help their kids set goals and watch their money grow. Make sure you involve your child in the decision-making process so they can begin to understand these banking concepts. A savings account can also teach about compound interest, setting and achieving goals, and more. Have a future astronaut, teacher, or engineer in your life? You can teach money management by having them help save for their college expenses. When they have the opportunity to invest in their own education, they're more likely to take their studies seriously. This is also a good time to talk about how loans work if your child will be taking out a loan for part of their tuition expenses. If your student is feeling overwhelmed, it may be the right time to talk about getting a summer job or having a year-round part-time job. Once they start receiving a regular paycheck, work with them to put a portion of their earnings into their college savings account. Need help outlining big goals like college? Use our financial goals worksheet at principal.com/financial goals. Another valuable concept for children to understand when it comes to managing money is budgeting. You can engage your kids in simple household budgeting tasks like grocery shopping. Before you go to the store, sit down with your child and make a grocery budget. Then walk through the store selecting items that allow you to stick to the budget. This also helps reduce impulse candy purchases in the checkout area. Planning a family vacation this year? That's another great way to teach budgeting. Start by setting a vacation spending limit. Then work together to lay out the cost for travel, housing, meals, and activities. When kids help plan and budget, they're more likely to understand that resources are limited and be content with the choices they've made. Need help getting started with a budget? Visit principal.com/budget worksheet. Just a moment ago, we touched on the idea of contentment. It may surprise you to learn that contentment is an important part of money management because it separates needs from wants. Like many adults, children often compare the things they want to the things their friends have, and social media is making these comparisons even more prevalent. Maybe their friend has a bigger house, a new phone, or an elaborate birthday party, so your child wants that too. This is an opportunity to talk again about needs and wants and have your child participate in making decisions about where household money goes. It can also be another chance to talk about how they can earn and save their own money. Now that we've talked about budgeting and saving, let's dive into the idea of allowances for children. Receiving an allowance is another way for kids to understand the concepts of earning, spending, and saving money. Make sure before you approach the subject with your child that you've thought through details like how much they'll receive, how often, and for which specific tasks. One study showed that the average amount for an allowance is $10 or less a week, but every family is different, and so is every child. If you're just starting out, keep in mind amounts can change as your child gets older and demonstrates the ability to make good choices. So, which chores are kids doing to earn their allowance? Roostermoney.com's 2019 Kids Allowance Report revealed that money usually comes from common chores like picking up a bedroom, doing laundry, or washing the dishes. Giving a child an allowance can help them understand that money is earned, not just given. It also means they'll make some decisions about how they'll spend it. Will they save to reach a goal or spend it immediately? Weighing their options and understanding the consequences is a priceless life lesson. Now that your child has money of their own, how do you help them avoid impulse buys? After all, who hasn't made a purchase they regretted? Let your child know they can use their hard-earned money to pay for items they want, but at the same time, encourage them to wait a day or two before making a purchase. Setting a waiting period of 24 or 48 hours allows them to think about their choice, and oftentimes they change their minds or even forget about it by the next day. If your child has seized on the idea of making their own money in order to have some extra spending cash, because who doesn't want more spending cash? Talk with them about getting part-time work, setting up their own small business in the neighborhood, or doing more chores around the house. Of course, when your child starts earning enough money, the next topic you'll need to discuss is taxes. Taxes are a fact of life, so why not get kids ready for the reality by teaching them the basics early on? Whether they purchase a pack of gum or a toy, your child will have their first encounter with sales tax, so that's a natural place to start. If you want your child to see how sales tax factors into the total cost of a purchase, study a receipt together. You can talk about the amount of tax, the items it applied to, and the percent of the total cost. If you have an older child, you can even talk about where the money from sales tax goes and how it's used by your state and city. A brighter topic that's sometimes overlooked when teaching children about money is charitable giving. You could introduce this idea with the 3-bucket budgeting strategy: saving, spending, and giving. Talk about what portion of their allowance can be allocated to each bucket. If your child has a passion for a nonprofit cause like an animal rescue, a school fundraiser, or a religious organization, you may want to research how to give to that group. Giving back is just another way to pass on your values to a child in your life. As your children get older and take on more personal responsibility for their money, it's important to talk about the consequences of making poor financial decisions. Misusing credit cards, accruing interest, and taking on too much debt can impact their financial opportunities for years to come. One impactful exercise you can do with your child is to take a close look at your credit card statement. Talk about the monthly interest rate and show how it begins to add up quickly. Then, talk about what happens when only making the minimum monthly payment or when a monthly payment is missed. Now, ask them to imagine having several credit cards all at the same time charging interest. Then, remind them about the 30% credit utilization rule we talked about earlier and how proper credit card management can help you build a credit history for large purchases later, like a home or a car. Talking to your child about smart money management is one thing. Sending them out into the world is another. If you have a child who is leaving the house soon, make sure to have conversations about good debt versus bad debt, the importance of investing, how to maintain a good credit score, and when to negotiate costs for goods and services. For example, talk about the difference between carrying credit card debt and having a mortgage. Credit card debt can damage your credit score, while having a mortgage and making regular payments can help increase your credit score. This is also a good time to talk about the importance of saving for the future. Go over a list of ways they can build wealth for the future, including their retirement, whether it's through an employer-sponsored 401k or an IRA. One final tip for your kid who's about to head out on their own? Remind them to investigate costs for goods and services from different companies, and tell them not to be afraid to negotiate the price of things like insurance, home repair, car and home purchase, and more. Just by watching this webinar, you've taken the lead on talking with kids about money. But if you want more resources, there are plenty out there. If your children are tech savvy, you can work together with these financial learning apps. Rooster Money helps parents teach kids the value of money in a digital age. Renegade Buggies focuses on savings and financial literacy. And FamZoo Finances encourages your whole family to work together to understand how money works, how to budget, and how to save. And finally, Junior Achievement also offers a variety of apps to help students continue to learn about financial literacy through tips and tools. If you found this webinar helpful, you can continue learning by reading articles, printing worksheets, and getting tips on money basics for kids from Principal at principal.com/milestones. Don't worry if you're just starting the money conversation. It's never too late to start educating your loved ones. You can be a positive influence on them and their financial future.
Welcome back. I hope you enjoyed the video. Now let's dig into some of the top questions. Our first question today is, what are some good activities for different ages to learn the concept of saving? Like we mentioned in the video, there are different activities for children of all ages to start grasping important financial concepts like saving. For young kids, it could be saving money in a piggy bank after certain chores, or it could be talking about needs like food versus wants like toys while in a local store. You could even set up a pretend restaurant at home, complete with fake money and scenarios. For preteens and teenagers, challenge them to save a certain amount each month. If they make it, they could get a bonus from you. If not, no bonus. Another idea, if they're older and have their own jobs, have them use their hard-earned money to make their own purchases on things they really want, like souvenirs on a trip or a new video game. Our next question is, my daughter is going off to college in a few years. How can I help her understand her student loans? An important place to start would be to understand the cost of her secondary education. This may be the cost of a 2- or a 4-year college plus expenses like room, board, and textbooks. Once you have the estimated costs, have her look at how she'll cover that cost. Maybe through savings from a summer job, maybe from a 529 plan. Is there more left to be covered? If so, you may want to consider student loans to pay for the remaining amount. For student loans, it's important to understand amortization schedules and how they impact the repayment process. An amortization schedule outlines payment dates, the payment amount, how much of the payment goes to the principal, and how much goes to interest on the loan, total interest paid, and the balance of the loan. The schedule continues until the balance of the loan is 0. This kind of schedule can help your daughter understand how much of her payments are going to interest and how much are going to pay down the principal of her loan. Next up we have, what if my own finances aren't in the best shape? Should I still talk to my kids about money? It's never too early and it's never too late to start learning. Even if you don't know everything about your finances, you still probably know more than the children in your life. This actually may be the perfect opportunity to be transparent with your children about money choices you're making. While some of their questions may be daunting and you may not know the answers, think of these situations as opportunities to educate not only your child, but also yourself. Our next question is, I don't talk to my kids much about money. How do I start? Have the topic come up naturally based on the questions your kids ask. The conversation could happen while you're out running errands, at the dinner table, or just at home. Try including them in simple money decisions you make, explaining your intentions to them. You could ask if they'd like to help. You make a budget for groceries, and then include them in the grocery run. You could also have them hand over the money to the cashier at the checkout. If your child has a toy in the cart and at the checkout they want a candy bar, explain to them that we only have X amount of money to spend. So we need to choose between the toy you already have in the cart or the candy bar you want. It's important to be honest in your conversation and understand it's an ongoing dialogue. These lessons could help shape your child's attitudes and opinions towards saving and spending in the future. Our last question today is, are there apps or resources for me to learn more alongside my kids? Great question. There are many resources online to assist you in your own financial literacy. In addition to the content and resources found through Principal Milestones, apps like Mint can help you with budgeting, and Spend Less can help you with expense tracking and money management for the whole family. Thanks for tuning in with us today. If you'd like additional tools and resources for your own finances, visit principal.com/milestones. We'll be sending out an email shortly with a link to watch the replay if you've missed any information, and we'll also be answering any questions we didn't get to. To replay this webinar or see a list of upcoming webinars, visit principal.com/learnnow. You always have 24/7 access to replays. Take care.